So I'm noticing a trend this morning. After having a couple back and forth with a client, I wanted to make this video in the hopes of helping other e-commerce brand owners out there that might potentially be watching that. When it comes to expectation, I realized one of the core key reasons why a partnership fails at my agency, it's 98% of the time, it's an expectation problem. And most commonly, I noticed that I was being pulled 3 times in the last year. I've had a client where I had to really chime in and do very long messages of like proofs, of numbers, of explanation, because they're either adding a lot of pressure on our team or they're being very much involved in the day-to-day. In itself, there's nothing wrong with that. Where something becomes wrong is the kind of delusion that I see some people having in regards to business. First and foremost, uninformed people make uninformed decisions. If you don't know your numbers, or if you don't know your industry's numbers, or if you delusion yourself into thinking your numbers are good when they're not, then that creates a problem. But I'll explain that one a little bit more in the next few minutes. The second one is when it comes to having past success and grasping to that success. So I've met a lot of brand owners, and I should now be better at spotting that on a call and spotting that as a red flag. But a very big red flag is when I ask someone, like, what is your monthly revenue? And then they tell me, oh, like at our peak in 2021, we were doing like 200,000 a month and we were spending 10 grand on ads. So I'm like, that person's living in the past. They're like, when I ask about what's the revenue right now, they're telling me about how they were the high school captain of the football team 20 years ago. They're not telling me about who they are or what's their business right now. They tell me about the highlight of that business 2.5 years ago. And where that leads me to being something wrong, I'm gonna give you a couple examples that are more tangible for e-com, right? Like a rule of thumb, MER is around 30%. If your MER is lower than 30%, then great. You're one of the very few brands that is probably either grew organically or does a conservative growth, and therefore you have a pretty healthy MER. MER should be about 30%. What does that mean overall? It means that 30% of your revenue you spend on marketing. It's a pretty healthy split for any growing e-commerce company. Second rule of thumb, which seems to be, to me at least, obvious, but to some it's not. When you scale, profitability decreases, but volume increases. I'm gonna give you an example. If you spend 10 grand on ads, you might be able to get back $30,000 in sales. Therefore, you make a 3x back on your investment, right? But you only make 20,000 in ad profit, right? Well, let's say you decide to spend 100 grand. Does that mean you're gonna make 300 grand? Probably not, but you might be able to make 200 grand. So, okay, you decreased your profitability threshold because now you made a 2x versus a 3x on your investment. But instead of making 20,000, you made 100,000 in sales volume of ad profit, which makes sense. But sometimes I see brands come in with the expectation that, look, we are currently at 2.5x ROAS. We actually want to triple our ad spend and hopefully get a ROAS above, let's say, 3x. Doesn't make sense. It's like if you were looking into an ad account, what makes sense is to, one, profit optimize it. So let's say you're only getting a 2x return back on ad spend and you're at $10,000 a month in ad spend. The first logical step is to profit optimize. Try new ad angles, find new winners, and restructure your creatives in a way where you can potentially try and get an edge, like a 2.5, a 3, a 3.5, a 4x. But no matter the scale, every business has a bit of a cap in their ROAS. It's incredibly rare for a business to get anything above 3 or 4x. The businesses that do, usually, if we're being completely honest, one, those aren't all new customers. Two, if they are, you might have a very high product AOV that for some reason has like a very good offer and it's quite rare, so people buy more easily. But I'm just saying, for 80% of the brands, if you get above 3 or 4x, you're doing better than most in this industry. So 3x pretty much is like the peak that a lot of the brands will be able to get to, which then means if you got yourself up to 3x, and I remember reading that in Hermosi's book, he's like, at some point you will have diminishing returns on your time. It's like spending more time to gain incremental uplift in profitability is not worth the same money instead of your time you could put into getting more volume, right? There becomes a point where that switches essentially on the pendulum, where putting more money to get more sales volume will be worth a lot more to you than putting more time to get a small percentage of incremental lift in performances. So that's another thing. And now, one of the biggest, I think, problems I've been seeing nowadays when it comes to just brands in general is the unfortunate COVID and TikTok booms that people experience. A lot of businesses now that are starting to mature in their business journey got started or founded during COVID. 2019, 2020, 2021 is when these brands started to be built. Now they're making decent money and they come to us. If you look at the revenue growth curve, it went like that and now it's been going slowly like this for about a year. If you look at like industry reports in terms of like year-to-date revenue in the e-com space, it's about down 4 to 10%. I've looked at reports from Northbeam, from Triple Wealth, from Common Thread Collective, pretty big agency in the US, also from Weekend Agency, who posted like about some of the brands they're handling. It's about anywhere between 4 and 10%. There is a downtrend in revenue. Two reasons. One, Common Thread Collective released a video on that earlier this summer, which I really loved. They're talking about that COVID boom, which a fuck ton of people acquired a lot of new customers and followers during COVID because of two things. things. One, people, as we know, were all stuck in their houses. So everybody was spending more time on social media. So organic engagement was through the roof, but so was paid engagement. Anybody running paid ads during that period became millionaires almost overnight because everybody had to buy online. Retail sales were completely down, and when something goes down, something else must go up. That same money now got allocated to e-com. So you had highly inflated numbers. And during that time period, people acquired new customers, but also new eyeballs consistently. And what that means, which a lot of people are not realizing, for the next 2 years, all of the rest of 2021 and all of 2022, a lot of their sales came from eyeballs acquired in COVID. It doesn't mean they were only getting returning customers, but what it means is that, let's say you got 500,000 followers on TikTok all during COVID, right? Got a big boom. Maybe during that time period, you did great in sales. Amazing. You acquired 25,000 customers. You used to have 475,000 of your followers that aren't buyers. They still have the potential to buy. They bought for the next 2 years. But there becomes a point where that is not sustainable anymore. And many brands are oblivious to that. They're expecting 2023, 2024, 2025 growth to sustain numbers they've seen in COVID, which is impossible. Like COVID is, again, a once in a lifetime event. Like, this is the thing with business. There are a lot of Trojan horses being thrown at you. And that's why if you read a lot of contracts, professional legal contracts, there's always a clause for like acts of God. COVID could be considered an act of God. There's a lot of things that are unforeseen, right? An act of God could be like, look, tomorrow morning your business could soar by 50% in sales. Why? Simply because your competitor's warehouse got decimated by a forest fire and now they can't sell online anymore at all. They had to stop all their ad spend. So all these customers now are going to you. Does that mean you've done a better job at being a business? No, that's an act of God. It's not something that is, it's just the odds were in your favor. It's all there was. And that is the thing with COVID. Odds were in a lot of people's favor, mostly anybody who started a business online. And now I see people that are, one, as mentioned earlier, they're stuck in the past. They live their high school football captain era of like, oh, but like back then I was at that much revenue, or like I did this once, or like my business is a multi-million-dollar business, but then when you looked at it, it was a multi-million-dollar business like 2 years ago, but now it's not. It's like, what is your business today is the question you need to ask yourself. And the only person you kid or kind of, I don't know how to explain that, but the only person that is affected by that is you. Agencies don't give a shit if you tell them the real picture at all, right? They're still gonna get a retainer. They're still gonna, continue running your ads. It just creates truthful relationships. If you align yourself on the basis of wrongful goals, it's not gonna work. And I think this is the biggest message I have for this year moving forward is like, one, don't kid yourself. Look at the numbers today. Two, don't assume success in the past will mean success in the future. Sometimes it means that. Not always. Not always. If you got success 3 years ago, right? It's like somebody who's like, let's say, I don't know, running a telecommunication business or maybe like a real estate business, right? Real estate agent. The guy's in his 50s. He's like, dude, I haven't, had the need to do prospecting over the last 30 years because I had a lot of referrals, but now referrals are starting to die down. And like what used to kill it for me was cold calls. Like I should just start cold calling again. Probably not going to work as much today as it did back then. That real estate agent might need to look into Facebook ads, might need to look into some other advertising avenues, right? Well, it's the same thing. If somebody tells me, in e-com, like, oh, like I went super viral on TikTok and, man, I'm going to go on a tangent here, but that's, because this video is so off the cuff, but like, I'm just thinking about kind of discussions I had with clients lately and like things are just coming back to mind. One discussion I also had was about that. Going viral is not good for a lot of people. It fucks you up more than anything else. I'd rather have substantial or kind of exponential growth over a longer period of time than very fast growth. Because you've seen it. It's a tale as long as time. People get passed on like an inheritance or they win the lottery. And the next thing you know, they make like, they're left with like $1 million when they never saw that money in their life. And what are they going to do? They're going to blow that money, right? They're going to buy some dumb shit. They're going to they're going to go into sabotage mode. Well, the same thing is true with anybody that I've seen, at least, or a lot of people that I've seen go viral on TikTok. They went viral on TikTok fast in 2019, 2020, 2021. Got a lot of views. And then from there, huge influx in sales came through. And then just as fast as things came through, as fast as things fall. And that is a lesson. The faster you build a business, the faster you lose it. It's true, because you built that shit on shaky foundations. Unless you had a lot of outside capital and knowledge that allowed you to kind of kickstart your business. If you're bootstrapped for the most part and you built a very fast business, a lot of the time it's not built on strong foundations. And that's also what I noticed by a lot of these brands who went viral on TikTok. They built a business that is somewhat shakier. In fact, it's not really a business. They had a product, they had a good angle to push that product, and basically all they had figured out was the marketing. No real product market fit, no real audience, no real like mass market desires. It was just like, I have my product and I know how to make it go viral and I'll make money now. And if that's your play, again, it's all about expectations. If that's your play, if you're a dropshipper or whatever, right? Like that's the same thing. If a dropshipper comes in and tells me like, look, I got this crazy good product right now. I hope to make money from it for like the next 10 years. And like, they have all these big goals, but being a dropshipper, it's probably not going to happen, right? But if somebody comes to me and is like, look, I know I'm sitting on a great product right now. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I'm gonna milk it for as long as it lasts. It might be 3 months, it might be 6 months. I'm already planning on my future of like testing more products right now to make up for when first product is gonna die off. Or somebody comes in and tells me like, look, I know I'm starting with dropshipping. I'm gonna milk that opportunity for as long as I can. Then move into like private labeling or potentially even manufacture my own SKU and like build a brand from it, and like, that is a long-term play. But again, don't kid yourself into the wrong goal or the wrong kind of frame. It's play the game, but play it right. If you're gonna go short-term, if you're gonna boost yourself on TikTok and go crazy viral, then this is a short-term game. If you want to get it long-term, you already have to think about the long-term. You can't play that same game and expect the same results. So that is my goal with kind of this video today. It's to set proper expectations for anybody watching that. Is if you're gonna play a game, play it fully. If you're gonna play it right. And if you're gonna play it right, understand the ins and outs of it. Have the right expectation. If you want shit now, there's no problem with it. But be wary of the consequences. Just like the same thing, if you want shit later, there are consequences. If I want to build a business fast, I might make a lot of money today. I might eat today, but I rob myself of a better future. If I want to build a better future now, I'm gonna eat shit for a little while. Probably gonna get ugly, but I'm gonna make sure my family eats tomorrow, in 6 months, in a year, etc. So that's kind of the message in this video, is set the right goals, set the right intention, and go into a business with the right expectations. That's the primary thing that you can get away from this video. So I hope you got some value out of it. It was more of a rant than anything else. Felt the need to make that video, and I think some of you are gonna be able to get some value out of that. So on that note, check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce marketing tips, paid advertising, business, etc. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.